Do you need dark fantasy book recommendations? I've got you covered. In this video series, we will explore the world of dark fantasy books and its authors together. And before this video is done, you will also know which of these books I find the most interesting. Even though I'm an author in the dark fantasy genre myself, I actually haven't read that many books by other authors in the genre. So this video series will be a dark exploration adventure for both you and me. And just as a quick exclaimer, I've done my research on these books for sure, but I haven't read them myself. Rather, I've talked with people who read a lot of dark fantasy, and these books they consider to be their favorites. And the first book recommendation that I have is MALAZAN, Book of the Fallen. It's a 10-book series where the book 1 is called Gardens of the Moon. The author is called Steven Erikson, and book 1 is around 700 pages depending on the edition. The first book is about power and magic struggles centered around the ruthless rule of the MALAZAN Empire. And these are the rest of the books in the series. Book recommendation 2, but before that, hit subscribe, become a part of the Tales tribe today to get all future videos in this video series delivered to you. Book recommendation 2 is the Dresden Files. It's a 17-book series with more books on the way. And book 1 is called Stormfront. The author is called Jim Butcher, and book 1 is around 300 pages, depending on the edition. The first book is about how the series protagonist, Harry Dresden, both a detective and professional wizard, investigates a double murder connected to black magic. And these are the rest of the books in the series. And book recommendation 3 is the Sword of Truth series. The author is Terry Goodkind, and the first chronological book is around 500 pages, depending on the edition. The first released book is Wizard's First Rule, but the first chronological book in the series is The First Confessor, The Legend of Magda Cyrus. The Sword of Truth series takes place in a world ruled by magical rulers, some of which can force you to do their bidding and always speak the truth. In this world lives Richard Cypher, a Westland woods guide who becomes the Seeker of Truth, a champion of truth and justice. Figuring out how many books this book series actually has and which one to start with was a bit tricky actually. Both because the books weren't released in chronological order and because some of these stories takes place outside of the main story arc. But to make things simple for this video, I will be listing the books in chronological order. To my understanding, there are 17 books in the main story arc titled The Sword of Truth that you can start with. After that, there's 10 additional books that takes place in the same universe, but that don't belong to the Sword of Truth main story arc. 5 of these books belong to the Children of Dara story arc, and 4 belong to the Nikki Chronicles story arc. And finally, we have one standalone book called The Law of Nines that takes place 1,000 years after all of the other books, which lands us at a whopping 27 books total. And now I'm going to tell you which book series I find the most interesting. But before that, hit subscribe, become a part of the Tales tribe today to get all future videos in this video series delivered to you. And if you'd like to read my Patreon exclusive dark fantasy stories, you can do that by clicking the link up here or by checking out the link in the description. I find the Dresden Files to be the most interesting book series because of the detective focus combined with magic, and also because the story sounds very mysterious, which is something I really love. In a nutshell, I actually decided to read the Dresden Files before even making this video. That's how interesting I find it. The Dresden Files also reminds me of my own dark fantasy series called Black Magic Detective, which you can check out up here. Fans usually say that I'm very good at creating dark atmosphere, so I think you'll like this series.